Valerie.
Hi, I'm Valerie. I'm a real estate agent in the Pelican Rapids area.
I'm Laura. I am the high school principal at Pelican Rapids.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How long have you been in Pelican?
Oh gosh, let's see. We moved here in 2012, so it'll be 13 years this fall.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you like it?
I do like it. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I never thought I would be living in small town Minnesota, but my husband is from Perham, and he kind of introduced me to the lakes area, and I grew up in the cities. And actually lakes in the cities were like, ugh,
Right.
no thank you.
Yeah.
But up here, I enjoy it. Yeah.
Nice. You know,
Yeah.
kind of funny, the same situation. I grew up in Detroit Lakes. My husband grew up on Big Hormone Lake. And so we moved to the Fargo-Moorhead area, had our kids there, thought that they really should grow up in a big city, should have the benefits of that, you know, and they graduated, and we looked at each other and we're like, this isn't home anymore.
Yeah.
This isn't where we want to be. And so we had always had a lake place on Franklin Lake. And so at that time I had my real estate agent with a real estate license, was kind of just doing it part-time. And then something just called us like, you need to go home. You know, so we had built a cabin on Franklin Lake. And so we moved there. We're like, we'll stay there and just see what happens.
Sure.
Well, that was like 8 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it really is, you just kind of go back to your roots, right?
Yeah.
And where you're comfortable. So
Yeah.
I totally get it. Yeah.
Kind of laugh because both my husband and I went to NDSU, and talking to my parents now, we have 5 kids, and it's like, oh, you really should kind of figure out where your kids are going to school, because a very good chance they're going to live around there. And it's kind of funny because I first was like, I'm not moving to the Fargo-Moorhead area, you know, but
Yeah.
and you talk about, you know, your kids growing up in small town versus big town. And I grew up in Burnsville. I mean,
Huge.
my one class is bigger than our entire district in Pelican, but I think there's a really good trade-off between, there's some advantages to a bigger school,
Yep.
but also small schools. The kids here, they're involved in everything and try everything, and I really appreciate that about watching kids. You know, I've listened to talk about, like, I'm in knowledgeable, and it's like, in Burnsville, I don't even know if we had knowledgeable,
Right.
but you very much got into your niches, and it's, I don't know, it's fun to see kids try everything and get involved in a whole bunch of different things.
And I agree with that too. When my kids were in sports and stuff like that, yeah, they got cut from teams because there's so many kids that you can't have them all.
Yeah.
So that's a huge benefit to going to a small town too.
Yeah.
So yeah. Cool.
So are you guys still on Franklin?
We are. Yeah. And you live on a lake?
We're on Lida. Yeah, we're on the north side
Okay.
of Lida. What side of Franklin?
We're actually on the northeast side.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's your favorite thing about Lida Lake?
Maple Beach, for sure. 100%. Yes. Like, there is no better Sunday for me than going for a run.
Right.
We like to run around Crystal. I haven't
Okay.
found a good route around Franklin that doesn't make me go on 59, but long run around Crystal, through Crystal and Lida, and then spend the day on the lake and
Yeah.
get a burger from Maple
That's
Beach.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about Franklin?
You know, what I love about Franklin is that we still have a lot of undeveloped area.
Yeah.
When I look out my window, I see green. I see trees. I don't see a ton of houses.
Yeah.
Where they placed the roads around the lake, they placed them so close that there can be no development in some
Sure.
areas, which I'm sure, you know, I mean, I look at it and go, that's an amazing thing. I'm glad they
Yeah.
did that. But they
Yeah.
were probably going, and it was a railroad who owned a lot of the lakeshore property before it got developed. They probably lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, it offers just a beautiful view across the lake.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So do you go to that little island? There's like a little island, isn't there?
I have been there. Yeah.
Is that somebody's, or is that
To be honest, I'm
Common-
not sure
common
if
land?
it is.
Okay.
It's pretty small. It's not. Yeah. But every once in a while, you see somebody dock there and just go sit for the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
So, and amazing fishing. That's the other thing I think our lake
Yeah.
is kind of known for too. So
my husband is a PT, and so he'll have a lot of patience when they find out where we live. They ask
sure.
all the time if we fish, and he's like, we don't. You know, I think my son would like to get into it more, but we do a lot more recreation. But if somebody would bring me the fish, I would be very
Right.
happy to
Yeah.
to eat it. But
yeah. So
Yeah.
are you a wakeboarder? Are you a what do you do for recreation on the lake?
I feel like I'm still learning. You know, I grew up in pools, not in lakes. My husband is a very good, he likes all the water sports. He likes to wake skate, which I didn't know what that meant, but you don't, it's just a board, and then you don't put your feet in any bindings. So he likes that. And then my kids are getting old enough. My oldest, Gemma, likes to water ski. I was telling you about Kai. She's a former teacher, and she helps me with some of our running groups. She has a place over on Ida, and she wants to teach me how to wakeboard. And I was like, Kai, I don't really want to, but that's her dream, is to get me to get up on the board.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. No, I'm more of I like to go out early in the morning just because it's quiet, number one. Number two, my business hasn't really started all that much. So if I can get out there in the summers, 7:00 and take the paddleboard out or take the kayak out and just leave my phone on shore. And just go out and enjoy nature in the quiet and just, it's just very, very peaceful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, besides living on the lake, you are at the school as a principal. What have you seen for changes in the school in the last few years?
Well, this will be my third year as principal. Change-wise, one big change is Doug Brueggemann is retiring. He's our dean of students, and he has been a face of Pelican Rapids for a very long time and just done some great things around here. I mean, if you've heard of the Shadow Basketball Tournament, that is Doug Brueggemann. Peteyville is Doug Brueggemann. And then there's just splotches of everything that's Mr. Brueggemann. So that'll be a big adjustment for me. But it also gives us an opportunity to welcome either a new face or a returning face, and I don't know, start something, hopefully a new legacy with that. But difference-wise, there's been a big push for CTE and those kinds of things in
what's CTE?
Career and Tech Ed.
Oh, okay.
So we've had things like CNA start at the school. We have EMT, some kids taking CDL.
Cool.
Those kinds of things. Otherwise, change, for the most part, I would say it's been pretty status quo. There's still some just great traditions academically and athletically. I mean, this was a pretty exciting March with boys basketball going to state again for a second year. And in the schools, I would say a lot of times no change is a good thing. Kids are doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
We have a good, strong, steady staff at both schools, and I think things are headed in a good direction.
Good.
Yeah.
Is enrollment pretty steady?
Enrollment is down a little bit. We'll have kind of some ups and downs. Overall, we're down a little bit, but we're always looking for new families to come in, or some of our alumni to come back and decide to raise families.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
How about housing-wise?
Housing-wise, I do a lot of lakeshore properties. So we're always at a scarcity for those. I always tell people they're not making more lakeshore, right? A lot of times lake homes get passed through the family, that kind of thing too. So always a need for more listings. The prediction is that there is supposed to be more listing this year, and I think we will, just from what we've seen so far this spring for lake homes, there will be. I know we talked a little bit about the housing issue that we have, affordable housing issue, right? Lake homes are expensive. That's not a secret. So affordable housing is hard. It is in Pelican Rapids. I know they're starting to look at some developments to kind of get that going. Hopefully in the future, we can get those going a little bit more, even if it's a little bit out of town. People are willing to travel. It's okay. You don't have to live in town itself, So, but I think as Pelican continues to grow, that will go with it. We need people here demanding it with the money to build that new house maybe, or to buy that next upper level house. It'll come, as with small towns. I think growth is always, it's slow. It is. It takes time, and it takes people who really want to believe in the system to get it to happen. right?
Where do you feel like most of the people are coming from when they're looking for, is it Fargo-Moorhead? Is it cities?
Most of my buyers are from the Fargo-Moorhead area.
Okay.
And for lakeshore property, most of them are, either on the verge of retirement or they are retired. Owning a lakeshore property it's the goal, right? That's everybody's dream. And they save for their whole life, really, to get to that point of, yep, I'm going to retire on the lake. I want to, live out my years there.
Sure.
And then we know it's an amazing lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
So, most of them are coming from Fargo-Moorhead. The other thing that we're seeing too is, okay, if we can't get on a lake, can we just get a place out in the country? And those people are always surprised. Like when I tell them like 45, 50 minutes, you can be there if you want to live here, it's okay. Or like how good the internet out here. Like if you want to work from home,
sure,
we have amazing fiber out here.
Yeah.
You can do that. So we're definitely seeing a rise in that, especially Fargo-Moorhead has some crime issues going on, and they're just not,
sure,
they're not into that. And then the next question that always comes along is like, okay, how are the schools? You know what I mean? What's going on there and that kind of thing. And so,
do you get feedback on the Pelican schools?
A lot of them don't know a lot about it. The first question, and maybe you can answer this for me, what are their class sizes like?
Sure. So general, just graduating class, we're somewhere between, I would say 60 to 75 is pretty average. If you're talking about just general elementary class size, you're talking right around 15 to 20. So relatively small.
That's amazing.
I think what parents would find is that the teachers really get to know the kids. That has been my biggest enjoyment about being part of a smaller town is the teachers follow your kids. It's not just they're your first grade teacher.
Right.
They're following you through your entire academic career.
Right.
And I think that is a great thing. And if you look at some of the teachers, there's a lot of longevity. Teachers stay. And I think that speaks to the district itself and just the way people are taken care of. And just great opportunities. And like I said, small. You get to the high school too. You'll have classes 15 to 20 and a variety of classes. We're not a large school, but there's a lot of opportunities for kids to take college classes. You could come out with over 40 credits in college classes just in school. And
right.
I think that's a big advantage for kids.
Right? Yeah. It's huge when you think about how much money they would have had to pay in college to get that, right?
And can still be a high school student. My biggest thing is people talk about PSEO and going to M-State. PSEO would be you're taking an online college class, or you'll have some kids that are going to M-State to take their classes. I just think you lose the connect with your classmates, and you're only in high school one time. Yeah. And there's something to be said for still being a high school student, and the more opportunities we can offer kids to get those experiences but still be a high schooler,
right?
I think it's important.
Yeah.
Keeps you part of your community,
Yep.
Communities only grow when people give back to community, and part of that as a high school student is to get involved in what's going on in your school.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Do you feel like, so we are in a development where you can be on the lakeside or you can be more on, you have lake access. Mm-hmm. Do you think that attracts people, younger people, or do people really want to be on the lake where they can walk out into their
good question. I think that's exactly right. I think younger people are more apt to accept that, be off the lake, but yet have lake access at a lower price point, right? Our older people are like, I've saved for this forever. I have the money.
I want my own.
I want my grandkids to walk in the beach and not have to, go across the street. And I get it. Go across the street isn't a great, safe thing. But definitely, I think that is a great option. Now, lakeshore management, that kind of thing, they get a little, those back that
it's
have,
harder.
It gets harder because then we put more people on the lake, right? And it gets congested and populated. So there has to be a balance. No doubt about it too. So, but I always tell people, we have public accesses. It's not like you can't live 3-4 miles away from the lake and get your boat there every day if you wanted to. It's not a huge deal. So there's a lot of good options.
Yeah.
If you can't afford, you don't want to live on the lake.
Yeah.
True. So,
okay.
cool. Well, do you think your greatest achievement is in life?
Mine?
I'm getting deep.
Oh, jeez. My greatest, I'll be very cliche. I mean, my kids kind of run life now. Jake and I have 5 kids. Gemma's in 5th grade.
Busy
Yeah,
mom.
Gemma's in 5th. Jet's in 1st. Lola's in 1st grade, and then we have 4-year-old twins. So they'll all be in the elementary school next year. Before that, I mean, running has been a big part of my life for a long time, and it's how I met my husband. And when you talk about like gifts to share with kids, I love to coach, and coaching is my way to, I feel like, really tell kids my story and my background. And running kind of made me who I am and gave me my beliefs and the things that are important to me, and taught me hard work. And those are the things that I like to share with kids. So, I would say my greatest accomplishment would be my running and track and field. Yeah.
Cool. So you still run?
I still run. I'll have people always ask me if I'm training for a marathon. I am not training for a marathon. I'm training to chase my kids. I love to run. It's also just my way to, I don't know. It's my time. Every morning, it's my time. I'm looking forward to May here, where I can get up in the morning, and I love to run when the sun comes up. That's probably my favorite. It's kind of like you. It's quiet.
Yep.
It's beautiful. I think Pelican Rapids has some of the most beautiful landscape in the lakes area, and just love to go run and not hear 5 kids in my ears sometimes. So
It's just your own time.
Yeah, it is.
Cool.
Yeah. How about you?
Oh, I'm going to stick with my kids too.
Yeah.
I have a son who's 27.
Okay.
He's a deputy with Cass County.
Okay.
Just, those people that do those jobs are just, they're called. They're true. And I can show you pictures when he was like probably 6, 7. He wanted to be a police officer for Halloween.
Yeah.
And like, this is all this kid has ever wanted to do.
Every year.
I'm going to be a cop. And then when he was in high school, we're like, Michael, you should think about something else. What if that's really not what you want to do? And he's like, no, I don't need to think about anything. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so, he's a deputy and loves his job, and just is a great guy. I have a daughter who is 27. She graduated from NDSU last year as a pharmacist.
Okay.
She is in Duluth doing a hospital rotation for pharmacy, and she just got accepted to Baylor White in Dallas for a emergency medicine pharmacy residency.
Okay.
So again, I've been blessed with amazing kids. I don't know what I did to deserve it.
Yeah.
But so I'm going to go with my kids too on that one. But yeah.
What's your husband do?
Oh, my husband is an IT director at Eventide in Moorhead. We've been married.
So does he commute? Is he a commuter, or is he?
He's a commuter.
Okay.
Every day. And, I can maybe count on my hand the number of times that he's not made it in because of roads, And then I think that's the other thing people don't understand. They go, oh, the roads must be awful out here. Like, no, the township and the city does an amazing job. So it's not very often that you can't go where you want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does your husband do?
He is a physical therapist. So he is at the clinic in Pelican 3 days a week, and then he does home health the other days. So he's kind of come up on the season now where he's going to come home with a lot of garden items.
Oh,
when he
is he
does
a
home
gardener?
health. No, his patients love to give him gifts. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a fun little mix. He likes being in the clinic, but
Yeah.
home health has its own different kinds of rewards too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a testament to the kind of people that we have around here, though, to give you stuff, be like that kind,
Yeah.
I came in here in crutches, right?
Yeah.
So I had broke my ankle. I slipped on a garage floor. I had just listed a house, and it was just wrong place, wrong time, freak accident. I slipped and broke my ankle. And I had just met these people twice before, right? And so when it happened, I was out in the garage by myself, and I yelled their name, and they came out there, and they're like, oh my gosh, but this is the kind of people that are out here. They go, oh, well, you're right next to the car. We're going to pick you up. We're going to put you in the car and we're going to take you to the emergency room.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I just met you like twice.
Yeah.
And then we get to the emergency room. She gives me a hug and she says, do you want me to come in with you?
Oh.
And I'm like, no, it's okay.
I'm okay. You have done enough. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah.
And then she gives me a hug and says, I love you. If you need anything, let me know. And I'm like, this is why I live where I live.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because not that they wouldn't help you in Fargo or whatever, but like they might say, yeah, we'll call you an ambulance. If one's available, they'll come. You know what I mean? But
or if they're your neighbors, right?
Yeah,
like you might have a really good relationship with
Yeah,
your neighbors,
exactly.
but not necessarily
Right.
a stranger. Yeah.
but just not that kindness that you see out here, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, what's the biggest challenges going on in your school right now? I know we talked about what's really good. Are cell phones a problem?
Oh gosh.
And I hear that they're going to ban them in some schools.
So we've kind of continued to tighten the strains a little bit on cell phones. Next year, it's very likely that we are a no cell phone school. But we've thought about what would be the advantage of kids not even having the chance at passing time to look at their phones. So that is my summer project, is to figure out how can we collect devices, most likely, and give them a screen-free day. I always hope that kids understand how to use their phone, but then you remember they're kids.
Yeah.
And social for us is not necessarily social for them. And so teaching them some of those tools. But yeah, cell phones. And then spring is busy in the high school. We're in the fourth quarter and we have seniors getting ready to move on. So we're starting to plan for graduation. Prom's coming up. Spring sports have started. And the weather changes, which I think always brings some new energy to kids. Yeah. And they realize that the end is kind of coming for the year. But for the most part, I would say challenges have been pretty minimal. But yes, cell phones.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate as a parent. I need to text my kid.
Oh, gosh. I'm sure you do. Right?
I need to get a hold of them and tell them that their dad's going to pick them up, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. It's funny because I remember in high school, we had pagers, okay? I don't know how old that makes me, but we had pagers, okay? But we didn't have phones. We had pagers, but there was a phone in a locker that you would get a page. I don't remember who was paging me. It was not my mom, because mom knew she had to pick me up at 4:30 from practice. Right. I don't know, it was my friends or whatever, but you'd go back, and you'd have to do the old school dial with a phone attached to a cord and the line of kids behind you, right? Calling whoever paged you.
Okay.
We've had a few of those, but it hasn't been anything wild. But
right.
Just want to say they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You're going to be okay. Right? Someday you want your kids to fly. Let us help them,
Right?
Yeah, I don't know. I laugh because sometimes kids are like, my mom needs to call me. And I was like, you know what? Why don't you take my phone for the day too, and you could answer all my calls? I would be more than happy to turn mine off for the day and be done. But that's funny you say that.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, how am I going to talk to my kids?
Right.
Well, our main office phone number is 218-863-5910. We can write a note to your kid and get it to them. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that would be invasion
really
of privacy.
funny.
How would that ever work?
Yeah. I've even had conversations with kids and they're like, I just want to talk to my friends. When I was in high school, we had gel pens and notes and we passed them and tried to make it so that the teacher didn't see us.
Right.
And then not get embarrassed if they did and see, are they going to read it to the whole class?
Right.
So
exactly.
And they look at me like, you are crazy.
Yeah, you're
lady.
ancient.
Yes. What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah.
Funny. Yeah. Well.
But then you forget there's some kids that don't have them. You try to communicate sometimes, even as a coach, and you realize, oh yeah, some of these kids don't have them. Yeah.
Yeah. So then then what do you do? Do you go back to a newsletter? Do all of them have email access?
They have email access. We've had some of our student council advisor, went back to old school. She tapes notes to their lockers when they have meeting reminders. But yeah.
Okay.
We have one of our groups reading a book called The Anxious Generation, which is about our current kids. And it's fascinating. I listened to a podcast about it and as a parent, I sat there and it's like, man, because she talked about, as a parent herself, she got together with her kids' friends and they sat down and they said, okay, this is the age we're going to let our kids have phones. And I'm sitting there like driving thinking, there is no way I'm calling Gemma's parents and saying, I think we should sit down and have a talk about when we're going to give our kids phones. Like, that seems kind of crazy, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that flows over to adults. And I look at my business too, like how connected I am to my phone. And like, if you're not, you can lose a sale because people expect that immediate.
Instant. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not texting them back, they'll go to the next person. So what has this done to us as a society on a whole?
Yeah.
And that's the reason, like, I go early in the morning so I can leave it and not have to worry too much. But at the same time, like from 8 to 5, I'm
constantly looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to shut it off on vibrate for this, don't I?
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Oh yeah, for this. Yeah.
Right?
I'm talking to somebody.
I know, I'm talking to somebody.
Yeah.
So what does that do to your brain long term? What does that do to your emotional well-being and all that other stuff?
And that's what they kind of talked about was this, because we had went where you could have your phone during passing time. But in this book, they're talking about that the recall of kids and the attention span continues to lessen because they're so used to an instant chime or alert. And it's like, oh, yeah, I can relate to that myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's flowed throughout business. I mean, look at now. You can look at the inside of a house on your phone with a video.
Yeah.
Because we take a
even
drone.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, because we take a drone. We fly it throughout the entire house. We fly it outside. So you don't even have to go there to look at it. So.
Which is wild because you think about, like, you want a person to come. And one of the draws, I think, to Pelican Rapids or the lakes area is it's quiet, right? Or you're going out and you watch the loon fly across the lake.
Right.
But they don't get that in a video. No. They just look at the inside of the house, right? Or the view looks beautiful, but then you go stand outside and say, oh, I only see trees on the other side. I don't see my next door neighbor with their coffee standing next to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's what you really see and that's a great point. You need to come and just absorb the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so much more than about the house. It's like what's in your neighborhood, what's going on there too.
Yeah.
So
And experience Pelican Rapids, I think about my kids come home and they talk about, we have a lot of our students going through Ramadan right now. And so I'll have my first grader come home and talk about her friend is getting ready for Eid. And it's like, that is such a cool thing for my daughter in first grade to come home and tell me about her friend that is getting ready for this party that she would have no idea what. It wouldn't be something we would talk about at the dinner table, in normal conversation. But, to come here and experience the community and have your kids go somewhere where they're hearing. My kids are doing Duolingo right now because they want to be able to speak to some of their friends and learn Spanish. And it's like, God. Yeah. I screwed up in high school. I took German. I don't have any kids speaking German.
Right.
I should have took Spanish. But yeah, they're learning because they want to be able to communicate with their friends. And it's like, man, what a cool cultural experience for them that even growing up in Burnsville, we had different cultures and communities, but you weren't as connected because they weren't your friends necessarily for the rest of your time period. And, when you talk about advantages of our school, I think that is advantage number one for sure.
So does Pelican have in Fargo-Moorhead, they used to have an immersion program where you'd put your kid into a whole Spanish year, that they would just speak Spanish to him the whole time?
We don't have anything like that, but they spend their whole day immersed in a different culture. I know at the elementary, they have some of the pairs, they learn how to make tortillas, homemade tortillas. And it's like, man,
that's cool.
Yeah, they talk about a real taco, it's not with lettuce and sour cream and those kinds of things. Yeah, it's like, oh man, that's fantastic. So I just think they get all these little cultural pieces. If my kids could take Spanish in the elementary, they probably would. I would love that for my own kids. It just makes such a more well-rounded person.
And probably helps them a ton when they get to college.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't been exposed to any of that, and then all of a sudden you get to college and you have all these different cultures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. you get to experience the time where you might not be in the majority, in the minority, or you understand your friend who is coming from a minority and you're welcoming them into the community. And when I watch our students, that is what happens. They don't see color, they don't see language differences, they just see another person walking on the street or into the classroom. And it's impressive the way that kids are flexible and dynamic and get to have those experiences together in a just stereotypical small town Minnesota rural area, but that has so much more vibrancy and colors than even just the surrounding areas. And I didn't know that about Pelican when we moved here necessarily, but it's just been a great experience, I think, for all of us. Yeah.
So one of the things that I've heard people say is that I'm afraid my kids will get lost. There's so many different cultures. Are the teachers able to keep up with it all? And can they give my kids what they need?
Sure. You know, and at the high school, if we're talking the language wise, you know, some of those students, they have a different English class than, you know, a first English speaker. If English is not their first language, they're going to be in a different class to learn that English side. But the other classes, it's all, for the most part, together. And the classes are small enough and the resources are there that students aren't going to get lost. Every teacher knows most students' ins and outs, and they will know when they're not there. And I think that just shows the relationships that teachers have with kids, and they care.
And I
Yeah.
think that's important that you pointed out too. It's such a small group that they're gonna know what they need.
Yeah.
Or like if they come from the Fargo-Moorhead area, and
They will get lost.
Yeah.
You know, in a different way where, you know, I think about like our math teachers. You might have that same math teacher for a couple years out of your high school career. And now that teacher gets to watch them develop from maybe a 7th grader to a 10th grader and get to experience how that student has grown, you know, academically, in their other extracurricular areas, and be part of the growth of that student versus maybe just that one and done with the student in a larger district.
And probably because they know how they learn, can keep applying that as they go forward rather than passing them on to a different teacher each time and having to reinvent how you teach them.
Right.
So a lot of continuity, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
It
so
was
nice to visit
meet
you. Yeah.
Yeah. If I
Hopefully,
see you out when I'm running, I'll have to wave. Yeah.
Well, if you ever need a running spot on Franklin Lake, let me know. We'll find a spot for you. And
sounds
I won't be running with you.
I will say too, you know, if you ever have a family that's looking, bring them to the school. Let us give them a tour and experience what it looks
That's a
like,
good
especially
idea.
the ones that are wondering,
love
you know,
that.
what is it like in a diverse community, and let us show all the positives that go with it.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for the future of Pelican. I think we're definitely, you know, on an upward trajectory. It's growing. It's slow, but that's okay. You know,
Change takes time.
it does. But we just have so much to offer. I feel like it's a great place.
Yeah.
Yeah.